Bully, that's how Trump became president. That's exactly what happened. We got rid of bullies, and a real bully showed up. No one knew how to handle it. I've been working on my truck. There are a lot of great people on both sides. Excuse me, fake reviews, fake reviews, fake reviews. Ever wondered what happens when a former president with a short temper collides with two of the sharpest comedians in the game? Spoiler, it's not pretty. Chris Rock and Jamie Foxx just dropped some truth bombs, and let's just say Trump did not take it well. The man who dished out insults like candy suddenly found himself on the receiving end and erupted, think all caps tweets, furious rants, and a meltdown so spectacular that even his advisors probably needed popcorn. But what exactly did Rock and Foxx say that sent him spiraling? Let's just say this one stings. You know, Trump is like a dominant female boxer, like Ronda Rousey. You're like, damn, she could fight. Then you go, oh, she's hitting girls. Jamie, Canada's going to be with us soon. Canada will be with America very soon. I love Canada dry, but not Canada wet. I like Canada dry. We want Canada to adopt America. I like Canada, at least California. Canada's going to be with us. They're going to be the 36th state. Sorry, 50th, whatever, I don't do math. Before we move on, smash that like button and subscribe because you don't want to miss out on this. This isn't just another late-night roast. This was a full-on comedic takedown that had Trump fuming. Chris Rock and Jamie Foxx, two of the sharpest minds in entertainment, didn't hold back, and when their words hit, they hit hard. But what exactly did they say, and why did Trump react so badly? Chris Rock doesn't just joke about Trump, he dissects him like a scientist examining a particularly dumb lab specimen. The cast of The Apprentice is running the world. Trump's daughter, Ivanka, and Omarosa are involved. They run the world. For years, Rock has treated Trump not as a politician or businessman, but as what he truly is, a loud, blustering character who somehow fumbled his way into real power. Rock has never missed an opportunity to point out how absurd that is. Long before Trump became a political figure, he was already a walking punchline. The gaudy gold towers, the bankrupt casinos, the reality show catchphrases, Trump didn't become a caricature, he always was one. And Rock, with his trademark smirk and impeccable timing, saw the ridiculousness from a mile away. Trump running for president wasn't a shocking political development, it was just the world's worst episode of Celebrity Apprentice. But the real magic of Rock's comedy isn't just in the jokes, it's in the way he layers them with biting social commentary. He doesn't just mock Trump's blunders, he tears apart the entire system that allowed someone like Trump to rise in the first place. The cult of wealth worship, the obsession with celebrity, the way people confuse arrogance with competence, it's all there, perfectly packaged in a way that makes people laugh and think. And then came Trump's actual presidency, and suddenly, Rock's material practically wrote itself. The incoherent speeches, the Twitter rants, the constant scandals, it was like America had accidentally elected a stand-up comedian who wasn't in on the joke. Rock, however, was. He pointed out the contradictions, the blatant lies, and the fact that Trump managed to convince millions that he, of all people, was some kind of working-class hero. Trump, who rarely apologizes for anything, sounded like he was softening a little on John McCain. He said, "If there was a misunderstanding, I would totally take that back, but hopefully I said it correctly." On the Kelly file, McCain's daughter, Meghan, couldn't be angrier. "My father has been in public office since before I was born, and this is one of the grossest, most disgusting comments I've ever heard, which is really saying something. I'm 30 years old, and this is important because it's not just an attack on my father, it's an attack on all veterans. It's an attack on a man who lives in a literal gold-plated penthouse and has never worked an honest day in his life, yet somehow convinced struggling Americans that he understood them. It would be funny if it weren't so terrifying." Rock didn't just go after Trump himself, he also targeted the enablers, the sycophants, the people who bent over backward to justify every outrageous thing he did, and the politicians who suddenly forgot what words like integrity meant. Nothing bothers him more than being the butt of a joke, especially when the joke is spot-on accurate. Rock's humor isn't something you can easily dismiss, it lingers long after the show ends, because deep down, even Trump's biggest fans know the truth. If you have to constantly remind people that you're a genius, you probably aren't one. And if you can't handle a comedian pointing that out, maybe you shouldn't have run for president in the first place. A lot of people say Rock has always had a knack for making people laugh and feel uncomfortable at the same time, and his latest stand-up bit about Trump's post-presidency meltdown was no exception. He didn't just joke about Trump, he exposed the layers of delusion like a chef slicing into an overcooked, spray-tanned onion. The legal troubles, the desperate campaign rallies, the endless whining about a stolen election, Rock laid it all out with surgical precision and the ruthlessness of a roast master who knew his subject was already past his expiration date. Trump's post-presidency wasn't exactly dignified, as Rock pointed out, and the rallies, Rock couldn't get over the fact that Trump, 2 years out of office, was still traveling the country like a washed-up band refusing to accept that their biggest hit was decades behind them. The election was stolen, Trump howls, while the rest of the world has already changed the channel. You know, a lot of people encourage their children to have high aspirations, but as I told my mom when I was a kid, before I wanted to be a comedian, my dream was to be the President of the United States. It was the only job I ever wanted. But then came the moment that really made Trump lose it, one joke, one line so devastatingly on point that even his most diehard fans had to stifle a chuckle. Rock compared Trump's legal troubles to a deadbeat dad avoiding child support, always making excuses, always blaming everyone else, and always shocked when the consequences finally caught up. The lawsuits, the investigations, the indictments stacked up like bad Yelp reviews at a Trump casino. It was the classic story of a man who thought he could run forever, only to realize the real world doesn't work that way. The crowd erupted, even the people who had spent years pretending Trump was some sort of genius had to admit it was too accurate. Rock had nailed it. Not with exaggerated, cartoonish humor, but with brutal truth. Trump's entire post-presidency existence is just one long, exhausting attempt to dodge accountability. And Trump hates accountability almost as much as he hates a microphone that doesn't boost his voice to dictator levels. Of course, the meltdown followed with furious rants, rambling attacks on woke comedians, and, naturally, some version of Chris Rock is washed up. That's not playing. They've got Elon, they're going to put him in a rocket ship, call it Space Mexico. J. Lo is going to marry Ben again just to stay in the country. because that's the playbook: deflect, deny, insult. But here's the thing, Rock doesn't need to fight back. The joke already did the damage. That's the beauty of comedy: once it's out there, it sticks in people's minds. And Trump, for all his bluster, knows deep down that nothing he says will ever erase that punchline. Just when Trump thought the humiliation couldn't get worse, Jamie Foxx stepped in. If Chris Rock hit him with facts, Foxx went for something even more unbearable: an impression so accurate it was indistinguishable from the real thing. See, Trump can ignore criticism, he can attack comedians, but what he cannot stand is someone making him look like an absolute fool while sounding exactly like him. And that's where Foxx thrives. The bizarre pauses, the repeated phrases when he doesn't know where he's going, the sudden shifts from cocky to whiny to very, very sad, it's so spot on that even Trump's most loyal fans are convinced it's actually him. That's not an impression, it's a weapon. Lots of great people on the bus. I love London. I just want to tell you that you better, because I also do another impression of Jamie Foxx, the greatest Fox, the great guy. Do you have it? You've got to get it. Yeah, they tried to give me the virus, you know what he says, I beat the virus. And when Foxx unleashed it recently, it wasn't just funny, it was brutal. He didn't just mimic Trump's voice, he recreated the entire Trumpian thought process, or lack thereof. He rambled nonsensically about how no one had ever seen a courtroom like his, how the deep state was after him, how he knew some very strong guys who totally agreed with him, but he couldn't say who they were. It was all there: the incoherence, the ego, the sheer inability to form a logical sentence. The crowd lost it. But the real moment of destruction came when Foxx, still in character, started responding to questions the way Trump actually would. No exaggeration, no over-the-top parody, just pure, undistilled Trump logic. Someone mentioned Chris Rock's joke, and Foxx said, "Chris Rock? He's not funny anymore, folks. He used to be funny. He used to be one of the greats, but now, it's just sad, very sad." It was flawless, too flawless, and Trump hated it. If Rock's joke was a punch to the gut, Fox's impression was like holding up a mirror, so clear that Trump had to stare directly at his own ridiculousness. Amazing. Foxx then jokingly said, "I have to say, Jamie, before you go, yours is not as good as mine. Can you try it?" That's exactly how Trump sounds, and it highlights how absurd his ramblings are. The worst part? There was no way to fight back. You can call a comedian washed up, you can claim they're lying, but how do you attack an impression that's literally just you? Naturally, Trump did what he always does, lashing out with incoherent rants and trying to change the subject. But the damage was already done. Foxx had exposed something far worse than a political scandal or a legal issue. He showed the world, in the clearest way possible, that Trump is the joke. And nothing infuriates him more than that. Then came the clip, the one that spread like wildfire, reaching every corner of the internet in record time. Jamie Foxx, sitting casually among friends, suddenly became Donald Trump. It wasn't just any Trump impression. It wasn't a cartoonish exaggeration with flailing hands and over-the-top bluster. Foxx nailed the essence of Trump, the way he meanders through a sentence like he's lost in a hedge maze, the sudden shifts between arrogance and self-pity, and the desperate need to convince everyone, including himself, that he's the greatest at everything, even when the subject doesn't require it. The bit started with Trump's classic move, taking credit for everything. A lot of great people, the best people, both sides. Excuse me, fake news, fake news. They're trying to give me everything, the economy, the internet, oxygen. If it exists, Trump probably invented it. Foxx leaned in, channeling that signature self-importance. People are saying, very smart people, that I was the first to ever do comedy. Nobody was doing comedy before me. I started it. Tremendous jokes, the best jokes, people are laughing. It's incredible. Then came the spiral, the moment where Trump, in real life, inevitably derails into a barely comprehensible mix of grievances and self-praise. Foxx had it down to a science. A lot of people don't know this, but I actually built the pyramids. It's true, very strong, the best pyramids. Biden? He doesn't even have pyramids. The man could personally set a building on fire and somehow blame it on wind turbines. Foxx, without missing a beat, they told me it was my fault. It's not my fault, the fire. Terrible fire, horrible, really, but people are saying it was Antifa. A lot of people are saying it was Antifa. Could be China. Could be Obama. We're looking into it. And that's what made it devastating. It wasn't just an impression, it was a mirror reflecting Trump's entire persona at him in the most unflattering, brutally accurate way possible. This wasn't an SNL skit with exaggerated orange makeup and clownish antics. This was a comedian stripping Trump down to his barest essence, a man who speaks in half-finished thoughts, contradicts himself every 5 seconds, and somehow still expects to be revered for it. The internet erupted. Even people who usually ignored political humor couldn't help but share the clip. It was too real, too spot-on. Even Trump's most devoted fans had to pause and think, wait, does he actually sound like that? Trump can handle a lot, lawsuits, investigations, bankrupt casinos, but what he cannot handle is being laughed at. Mockery is his kryptonite, and impressions? Oh, those are the worst. They don't just insult him, they expose him. They strip away the illusion of power.